Hey, welcome back to our channel. We are going to be talking about dirt today. I'm going to share with you about soil composition and some things that you need to know if you're planning to plant your own garden. So stay tuned. Alright everyone, so I'm here at the community garden that we have in a neighborhood down the street from us that my school and I and my husband and our children, we helped establish this community garden. We maintain it, and so I'm out here today because I want to talk to you guys about dirt and about soil and what's important to know when you're trying to start your own garden. I had mentioned a couple of videos ago about checking if you have if you have clay soil or if you have sandy soil, that you might have to amend it a little bit. And so we're going to talk about that. So here where I live in Zone 8B in South Carolina, there is a lot of neighborhoods that when they come in and they fill in, when they're building, they use a really thick clay, like a red clay, under the ground. And so I have friends of mine that have gone to start gardens in their yards and they haven't been able to because the red clay is so thick and hard to get through, let alone to try to plant in. So one of the ways that you can resolve that is to do raised beds, which is what I have here. I'm going to turn this around. So this is part of our community garden. We've had a lot of rain and we're also having an issue with some bugs. So you can tell there's some things that need to be recovered with this garden, but you can see all around there's different types of raised beds. Most of these we've used pallets to create, but we also have pots and containers. We've used old tires. There's a lot of different things that we have used to create these raised beds. Now when we started putting these beds together, of course they are above the ground, so if you have clay soil you're going to need to do that, something above the ground, and we had to fill them up. And so for us, because of where this is located, it's not a property where we could dig up a bunch of stuff, so we actually had to go buy truckloads of dirt, topsoil, and compost and mix them together. You can go and purchase actual like raised bed garden like blends and things that are already mixed for you, but we preferred to go ahead and get 1 truckload or 2 truckloads of topsoil and then 1 or 2 of compost, and we did a 50-50 ratio and mixed them together. Then what we did was we went and we got wood chips and we put it on the top, so as those wood chips break down, they're re-nourishing the soil underneath. And then we also have a compost bin that I'm going to show you in a second, and we add to that. Now we're just using this old container right now as a compost bin. We also had a pile right here, and you can see most of our pile is broken down now and usable. And we just did a soil mix, which I'm going to talk to you guys about as well. But this is what's left of the bin, and you'll see that it's got brown, I'm sorry, there's a really loud car going by. It's got the brown components for carbon and paper, and then there's some grass in there. And I apologize, you guys, it's about to storm, and so there's thunder, and then there's also a lot of traffic going by today. I'm not sure why, and some of the vehicles are really loud, so I apologize for the noise. But so when we're talking compost, one of the things to be aware of is that not all compost is made the same. You need to know what works for your yard. So for this space here, we have enough space to do a pile if we wanted, but we really didn't want it to look bad because there's streets on 3 sides of this property. It's like a park. And so we ended up putting it in the bin for that reason. At my house, I have a compost pile, but then I also have a, a keyhole garden, which I'm going to show you guys in a little bit. We're actually going to go there next, and I'm going to show you the keyhole garden space where we have a compost bin built into the actual raised bed. But what you need to know about compost is you need to have the right ratios of green, which is like grass, plants, your veggie scraps for your kitchen table, eggshells, coffee grounds, all of those things count as like green nitrogen based material. Then you have your browns, which are like cardboard, paper, brown leaves, old pine needles that are dried up, anything like that counts as carbon. And then you need to have a little bit of water, but not too much, and then air. And you need to mix it. You know, if it's in a bin, mix it, you know, every week. If it's a pile, you want to mix it. If you're going to do a compost pile, you want to make sure it's at least 3 feet high and 3 feet wide to get it really good and hot, so that it will break down all of the material quickly. And that's kind of how you start with that. Now on Sunday, what I'm going to do is share with you actually how to start a compost pile or a compost bin. But right now I just wanted to introduce you to the concept that not all soil will work for a garden. You want it to be lush, you want it to be full of organic material, you want it to be moisture retentive. If you have a really sandy soil, that means it's not going to hold water, so every time you water it, the plants aren't able to get the water from it because it's going to go right through the soil. So let me show you an example of a really healthy, rich soil that we have here in one of our raised beds. All right, now this is really wet because, like I said, it's been raining, it's about to storm again. But I want you to look under here and see this rich, black, lush soil that's under here. This is what you want to plant in. If you find earthworms in there, it's even better because they're going to move the nutrients around. You want this really rich, lush dirt to grow your planting. You can see it comes apart really well. It's loose and nice and rich. Now this is a bed that I recently amended because you can see we've got beets growing here, but they've been here for several months and they have not done real well. When I went and I looked at the soil here, it's really sandy. I don't know if you guys can see, it's kind of compacted and sandy. So I added the mulch here and we're letting it break down. We're letting the rest of the bed rest and break down, and see if we can't amend this to make it a more nourishing soil to plant a fall bed in. Alright guys, so I am back at my house, in my own garden, my own yard, my own space. And I wanted you to see my chickens behind me. They're hanging out. We're trying to beat the weather here. So they're hanging out in the run and probably going to go in the coop in a minute because they can hear the thunder and whatnot. So I just want to take a minute to show you the compost bin that's in the keyhole garden that I have. And what the keyhole garden is, because I've done a whole build a keyhole garden video if you want to know how I did it and more about it. But this is specifically about the compost section and how we're adding the layers of basically organic material as we're creating this garden. So I'm just going to turn this around and show you next. All right, so this is the keyhole garden, okay? It's just this shape that is kind of like a keyhole with this little section in the middle that we can walk up to. And then we've got our compost bin and different things that we're putting in there. Also, this garden itself is all composted and breaking down organic material that we toss in there. And so you can see there's still a good little bit to go on this, but we're filling it up completely with organic matter. So once the garden's done and filled up, it'll all be with organic matter and really good nourished soil. And then we'll plant our fall garden in there. Our goal is here in this zone that we're at, we can plant all the way up to the middle of September probably and still get a good little bit of harvest depending on what we're planting. So by the end of this month, the end of August, we'll have this garden finished and planted and ready to go. And we'll keep you posted on that. So one last thing I want to show you is a compost pile. So I'm going to put a picture up on the screen and show you what it looks like when it's in process. And then remember, on Sunday, I'm going to show you how to actually create your own compost section, be it a bin, be it you know, a container or a pile, however you want to do it. I'm going to show you how to do it. And we'll see you next time on Urban Roost, Homesteading in the City. Have a great week.